Well, your silver anniversary world tour ran from early 1993 to mid 1994. What are the plans then for this gold tour?
Well, it's I suppose after so many years, concert tours tend to be they can be one of two things. They can either be put together around the release of a new album, in which case you will feature all, if you're very brave, or at least some of that new album, or they can be more of a best-of tour where you're looking back at your repertoire, your catalogue of records, and picking and choosing elements that you hope will entertain an audience for an evening, as well, of course, as yourself. And I think that with an anniversary tour, it has to lean more to the latter of those options, because I've now postponed the studio album that was intended for release in May of next year. There are just too many things happening with releases, re-releases, box sets, new editions,
right,
live material that's being released during the anniversary year. So consequently, it makes more sense to concentrate on that kind of approach for a year and not muddle it up with releasing a new album, which of course would have nothing whatsoever to do with the 50th anniversary.
Well, true, yeah.
Confuse the punters if we try to mix the new with the old in that kind of a context.
Did you have a problem thinking then about what you were going to put in the set list, and will the set list actually change according to where you play? That's the secondary part of that question.
Well, I don't have any trouble putting together a set list, really, because there's 300 songs nearly to choose from.
And what to leave out?
Well, it's usually taken from about 100 songs that are those that are practical to play live on stage, many of them for reasons of, instruments, because I've played a lot of different instruments on them, or perhaps they're too like another song, therefore they're not likely to be included, because you don't want two or three things in the same vein within the space of a single performance.
Right.
At least I don't. I like to have variety, and so for that reason, it usually comes down to about 100 songs that I will pick.
Okay.
Say 20 of, and that's the basis of a set list. But the idea in an anniversary year, would be certainly to focus, as far as I'm concerned, more on the origins of the band's recorded music, and to perform it as far as possible with the same arrangements in which they were originally recorded, not to deviate or do anything too clever, because I think people are there to hear things as they were originally conceived and performed. So that would be the approach. As far as the changing the set list, well, yes, it does change according to some basic parameters: indoors, outdoors, seated, standing, summer, winter. There are those national stereotypes which we perhaps all too easily trot out, but do have some basis. And so what I might choose to play in a cosy, comfy theatre in the United Kingdom might not be perhaps appropriate in some cases for playing in a noisy outdoor festival in Italy or Spain in the summer. So you have to think in terms of what is appropriate on the day, and what the audience. If you've got an audience who's standing up and are tending to be younger and are probably drinking or doing whatever, then you don't want to slow things down for something too esoteric and too mid-tempo. They may not have the focus for that particular kind of musical sortie. So you've got to be a little bit more fitting to the occasion, I think, and that's something that you can either refuse to do, as some artists do. And I know, because I, on occasion, have been amongst those. And you just say, "Look, this is what I'm here to do. I'm going to do it regardless of what you want to hear." But on the other hand, I think you have to try, and it's not so difficult given we have so much music to choose from.
Wow.
You have to try to find the balance between pleasing an audience, generally speaking, and pleasing yourself. And happily, that's not too difficult. My taste amongst Jethro Tull's repertoire tend to be not so different to the average taste, I think, of most of our audience.
Is the UK tour the beginning of the world tour, or is it in the middle of it?
The UK dates, I think, are the first that would be billed as the anniversary tour as such, but they're not the first dates in the year.
Right.
We do actually go off to play in Dubai in January, and then March we have some dates in Scandinavia. But in terms of, I suppose, the UK would be the first group of dates we would focus on rather more before we go off to Russia, and then for the first of 3 tours in the USA in 2018, plus of course the usual summer jaunts around Europe, playing in outdoor festivals and concerts and elsewhere. So it's another year of continuity, really, which at my age, continuity is everything. Waking up in the morning is a blessing, and one that I tend to think I shouldn't squander the opportunity of at least one more day on planet Earth without doing something that is A, fun, and B, maybe contributes a little bit to other people's lives. And so, there's a bit of an obligation, I think, to go out there and at some point die with your boots on, as do in famous westerns. Luckily in my profession we're not obliged to retire.
Yeah, no.
Carry on as long as we feel capable.